law passed in this year's legislative session is already seeing huge impacts across the state. We're talking about SB 117, and it has domestic violence organizations across the state saying they're seeing an increase in calls.
ABC4's Annika Johns joining us live from the Capitol after speaking to domestic violence groups in the state about the increase. Annika.
SB 117 requires Utah law enforcement to conduct a lethality assessment when responding to reports of domestic violence. Now, these assessments are comprised of a series of questions, and depending on how the victim answers, police will then put them in contact with domestic violence services. And now those organizations and services are seeing an increase in calls and need for shelter. Signed into law by Governor Cox on March 20th, SB 117 has given victims of domestic violence a chance of receiving help when they needed it the most. And since the law has taken effect, groups and organizations in Utah are feeling the impact firsthand.
Since it's been mandated statewide, we've seen a 60% increase in the calls from law enforcement and survivors to our hotline.
South Valley Services, who has domestic violence shelters in Salt Lake and Tooele County, say while this may seem like a bad sign, it's actually a good one.
Now that this has been implemented statewide and we're receiving more calls, doesn't mean there's more violence. What it means is that the resources are being delivered to the survivors who need them, so they're being connected to resources that they might not have been before.
And South Valley Services isn't alone. The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition say they've also seen an increase since SB 117 was implemented.
So this was a program, lethality assessment, that had been rolled out in Utah since about 2016, and about half of law enforcement was participating. So with that doubling of organizations, we're seeing about an 80% increase.
Both organizations say with this jump, their next step is to increase funding for these programs because many are reaching a breaking point.
So that's a huge increase in a very short amount of time. But I think everyone was a little bit surprised to see how quickly after implementation of this law that people were coming forward.
However, despite that, services are still being provided, and both organizations want to ensure that if you need help, they're there waiting with open arms.
There are so many people who are ready and willing to help and who can help. Give our hotline a call. We're standing by and waiting for your call.
If you or someone you know is in need of support from domestic violence, there is a 24/7 hotline available. You should see it right there on your screen. You can give it a call at any time. Reporting live from the Utah State Capitol, Annika Johns, ABC4 News.
All right, thank you, Annika.